Hey guys, good morning. My name is Clayton and I am definitely an alcoholic and a drug addict. Today I wanted to talk about a couple of the things that helped me get through in early recovery because um, it's a son of a bitch. It really is. I mean, us getting through in our early stages of recovery, like the first 90 days, I mean, sometimes it's a bastard. I mean, shit, even the first 24 hours is a son of. I mean, that one is probably the hardest. And if you guys used and drank like me, 30 days was considered long term recovery or long term sobriety. um, but some of you know my story, some of you don't. And actually, first of all, I'd like to apologize for my absence. Um, it's been a hectic week for me. Um, I moved into a new apartment, and my kids have been sick. It hasn't been pretty. Um, anyway, I'm back. So, some of you guys know that in my first 2 weeks of recovery, I started feeling better about myself, and what brought me to um, sobriety to begin with was, I mean, I was drinking real heavily and I was getting to that dark place in my mind where people go to right before they kill themselves. And I've told you that before. And the scary part is that I was comfortable with it. I really was. And I was either going to get help or I was just going to, clock out. So one time I woke up on my adopted dad's grave. I'd been bawling my eyes out. I had an emotional breakdown, and I hit a meeting that night, and I was still hammered when I hit that meeting. I was still drunker than shit when I went, and I broke down in the AA meeting, and I let a bunch of shit out that I'd been holding in for so long that, eventually the floodgates just build up, and out everything came. So I went to the first meeting in years that night, and I was sober for 2 weeks. Now, in that entire 2 week period, my cravings were, they were just stronger than shit. I'd drive by the gas station and my vision would get blurred, and I'd start closing off. It's like tunnel vision, right? You know what I mean? Like, I had some serious tunnel vision going on. Everything around me is blurred, and I'm just holding on by the skin of my teeth just to get home and not stop at the gas station and buy alcohol, and get fucked up. Or I'd go sit in front of the AA building for hours at a time, just going, God, somebody open the doors, let me in. Because I wasn't smart enough to get a sponsor. I wasn't smart enough to pick up my phone and say, hey, I need to talk to somebody. And it's not that I wasn't smart enough. It's just, at early stages of recovery, when you're like that, you get stuck in your own mind. You get stuck in basically you get trapped in your head. And it's hard to get out of your own head sometimes and do what you need to do in order to save your own life. And that's pretty much how it was for me. So 2 weeks went by of this, every day, just a mad rush to get home, not stop at the gas station, not get drunk. It sucked. It really did. And so after 2 weeks, I relapsed. And in my mind, I justified it as, well, everybody has a relapse. Relapse is just one of those parts of recovery. Well, it is, but it's not. Because some people don't make it back from their relapse. Some people don't. And if I were to relapse at this point, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't make it back because of the state of mind that I was in when I started drinking or when I stopped drinking would only enhance by the fact that I failed. And I relapsed and I went back out, and that guilt and that shame would I'm fairly certain would eventually drive me to a point of, fuck it, I'm out of here, I'm done, I can't do it, I'm not strong enough, I'm just gonna clock the fuck out. Do I know that for a fact? No, but I'm not gonna risk it. Anyway, so after I relapsed, I stayed out and I got fucked up for two more weeks. This was all in a 1 month period. I was sober for 2 weeks. I relapsed. I was drunk for 2 weeks. And in that entire time, I'm thinking, fuck, what the fuck am I going to do to help? What am I going to do to stop this? So what I did, basically what I came to the conclusion of is that the meetings alone were not enough to keep my ass clean and sober. I mean, I really wish they would have been, but it wasn't the case for me. Because it's hard. It really is. So I got a DUI in the process of my relapse, which I don't even want to talk about that, but the court has never ordered me to go to classes. They've never ordered me to go to AA. I'm not on probation or any of that shit. But when I finally hit that point that I was at prior to quitting drinking the last time, I was in the same state of mind, and it took me 2 weeks to get back to the same state of mind. It didn't even take 2 weeks. It took me probably 4 or 5 beers to be right back in the same state of mind that I was in right before I quit drinking. And eventually it scared me to the point where I called my employee assistance program. They got me set up with a counselor, and I started going to counseling. And when I started going to counseling is also when I quit drinking again. I started going back to my meetings. I started going back to AA and NA, and it was working. I was able to talk to somebody about things that I have a hard time trusting people, because in my life, when I tell somebody something that's supposed to be in confidence, they usually run around and tell everybody. And so I've got trust issues as far as that goes. But I can talk to my counselor, because I know for a fact she ain't gonna go running around telling people what I'm saying, because, well, she can't. She's bound by law to keep her fucking mouth shut. Which works for me. And that's what got me that little bit of trust and a little bit of faith in people from the beginning. But then she talked me into starting to doing some drug and alcohol classes that she also does. It's like group therapy shit. And at that time, I was willing to try anything to make sure that I didn't fuck up again. And it worked for me. And I was at the, God, even talking to people, even being in the same room with people makes me uncomfortable as shit. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. But I force myself to, because the way that I was doing things before wasn't working. It didn't keep me sober. The meetings weren't enough. And my guess is that the counseling at some point in time probably wouldn't have been enough. So I started going to these group counseling meetings and stuff, and doing a class called MRT. And I take as much information from those classes as I can, and I take as much information from Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. I take as much information as I can and I find little things that help me. You know what I mean? So I was able to take all this information that I was getting and apply it to my own life, which is allowing me to, stay sober. But I also started going to 12-step study meetings. And those 12-step study meetings got me into the 12 by 12, the Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, and I do them both. 12-step study books. And they've got questions in those 12-step study books. And if you want to be able to learn how to be honest with yourself, that's a good tool to use to try to analyze where you're at in your own mind. And you got to write this stuff down. And what I did was I read through the chapter, and there's questions in the chapters. So you write down the question and write down your answer. And now I can go back and look at it and go, man, I was really fucked up in the head back then. I'm still fucked up in the head today. Only difference is I don't have the desire and those massive fucking cravings that would get in my head and make me want to go get fucked up. I don't have those anymore. And they were serious, I mean, I'd get tunnel vision and everything would close off. And it was second by second. Like, as I'm driving by the gas stations, and I mean, you guys probably know what I'm talking about, whether it be drugs, whether it be alcohol. I mean, as you're driving by your dealer's house, you just fucking tense up and you're like, son of a bitch, and you're just holding on for dear life. And it takes every fiber in your being not to stop and not to use your drug of choice. I understand that completely because, well, fuck, I was there. I am 112 days sober today. If I make it through today, it'll be 112 days. And those cravings, those serious, nasty fucking cravings are gone for the most part. The alcohol has been out of my system for a while. So it's not my body craving it's not the dependency that's craving the alcohol. It's this little fucking demon between my ears that craves the alcohol, that really, really wants the alcohol. Those are the things that worked for me. Meetings, counseling, group therapy, digging into the 12-step book, digging into the big book study book, or the big book, the big book, the 12-step study book, and the big book. Those 5 things. Oh, well, and I got a sponsor who I talk to regularly. Those are the things that kept my ass out of hot water, that kept me sober, that is keeping me sober to this day. And to this day, I still go to counseling. I don't go to the group therapy, but that's a different subject. And I'll get into that one of these days, because in my videos, I like to be completely honest with you. I like to tell you, okay, this was my mistakes. These are my mistakes. And if you can learn from my mistakes and the emotional damage that I went through because of my stupid ass, maybe it'll prevent you from doing the same thing. But anyway, that's what's working for me. And I still read the big book. I still read the 12-step book. I still go through these books. I mean, fuck. You're going to work the 12 steps the rest of your life. And the rest of your life, every day has to start with step number 1. Every day is a brand new day. Every day we wake up and go, okay, I have a fucking problem with alcohol or drugs or whatever your addiction is. My life is unmanageable while under the influence of this shit. My life is unmanageable some days, but when I was using, my life was unmanageable all the fucking time. I couldn't even deal with myself. I didn't even feel comfortable in my own skin. But now, I feel like a badass. And I'm happy with who I am. So, hopefully this video helps you. You guys just keep working it, man. You guys are doing great. Keep your chin up. And with that, I'm going to take it for another 24. And me and my higher power, we're going to get to work. We're going to go move some mountains. Thanks.